he's taking, yeah, so number 2, which is the one beside at the end.
That's not mine. That's not mine.
He likes people's gloves too.
Their bikes, their gloves, and just greedy. Hey, how's it going? The other day I had an opportunity to check out the BMW Soul Fuel Tour at Headingley Sports Shop. The Soul Fuel Tour is where they offer demo rides of the different BMW R18 models. Now the BMW R18 is BMW's classic style cruiser slash tour bike with the 1800cc air oil cooled boxer engine. That's with the horizontally opposed cylinder head sticking out the side. Pretty much right in front of your shin, to be honest. And I got a chance to ride the R18 B, which is the R18 bagger. Hard bags, fairing, fancy infotainment. It's pretty much the biggest motorcycle I've ever ridden so far, with a wheelbase of about 66 inches and a wet weight of about 877 pounds, or claimed wet weight. That's a big difference from the Fat Boy I rode last year at Harley Davidson's Testrumental. I think that one was about 699 pounds wet, and that's a lot bigger than any bike I've ever owned. I think the biggest bike I've owned was a V-Star 950. That was about 611 pounds. Now I was reminded of this big old weight difference when I took the bike off the side stand, and when I almost lost it pulling into the parking lot towards the end of the demo ride. But once you get going, the weight just disappears. The test ride was about 45 minutes, which was pretty good, and took us through Headingley and on the highway, the Perimeter Highway in Winnipeg, which, on the highways where this motorcycle really belongs. When starting up the R18B, the engine just violently shudders to life. It don't let you know that it's no ordinary bike. It shudders kind of like a Guzzi, but in a more dramatic and emphasized way, because it's a big 1800cc engine, which is pretty much twice the size of most Moto Guzzis. The ergonomics for me, I'm not sure how to decide like the hand position, but I'll go with like mini apes with generous pullback. I didn't pay too much attention to it, to be honest. I just know it felt really good and comfortable. What I noticed was afterwards riding my bike home, it felt like my bike didn't feel as comfortable after riding on that thing and having my hands in that position on the R18B. I was wondering what was going on with my handlebars on my bike. Yeah, and the seat was wide and spacious, which is pretty awesome for a chunky guy like me. And the mid controls, I love mid controls. I rode the R18B mostly on the balls of my feet, never felt cramped, and in that foot position your legs and knees can help soak up some of the bumps, not that you really need to with this nice plush riding bagger. But you can push down on the pegs and stand up a little if you needed to. I did that while transitioning from smooth asphalt to a part of the road where there was road construction and dug out. I stood up a little bit. Now, although it's just the weight that isn't completely on your tail like most foot forward cruisers. Maybe it's the seat height or the difference between the seat and the peg, because I never felt cramped like on other mid-control bikes I rode, like the Rebel 1100 or the Iron 1200. And it'd be easy to say that's just because it's a bigger motorcycle, but I also never felt cramped on my little 1982 Yamaha SR250. It also had mid controls, but that had a seat height of about 29 inches. So yeah, I think the tricky part with the R18B and the mid controls was just the whole boxer engine heads right at your shins sticking out, and then you have to get used to the foot controls because there is no cheating. You can't look down to make sure you're doing it right because your feet are under the cylinder heads. You can't really see. Stuff like that's no big deal. You get used to it after a while, you know. So that's no big deal. And the other thing is that if you do eventually get cramped, because you know it'll be different for people, different sizes, and you need to change a leg position. BMW offers a platform over the heads to stretch your legs out, kind of like highway bars. Now the clutch took some getting used to, as it was a hydraulic clutch that engaged way at the end of its travel. So when I thought I was done using it, there was always a little bit left, and that gave me a few jerky up shifts and down shifts, even when I was trying to be extra smooth, but you get used to that. I never tried messing around with any of the tech, like riding modes or cruise control or any of that stuff. I usually leave that stuff more for solo demo rides, if I remember. But demo rides in a group setting, I try just to enjoy the ride and keep the motorcycle upright, because you kind of gotta pay attention to the other riders as well. You're not just doing your own thing. The R18B was a blast ride and had power all over the rev range. I kept shifting up and down to get a feel for the engine and the power band, but the power was always there and nice and smooth with just a little rumble to let you know that it's going, and with only a little bit of weird vibrations, maybe between 3,500 to 4,000 RPM. But who knows? These bikes, they probably don't like those RPMs, that high rev range. But shifting into 5th or 6th on the highway, the bike is just dead smooth. Can't even tell it's still running. The brakes were fine. I won't get into any crazy descriptions about that, like I'm some kind of motorcycle tech head. All I know, it's a double disc affair up front, and they stopped the bike pretty good when I held them. And for me, I usually use both brakes, front and rear, especially like when I'm coming to a complete stop. And I usually ride with 1 or 2 fingers on the brake and pull it with 1 or 2 fingers on the brake, and that was no trouble at all. It worked, and I didn't do too much for aggressive riding and stopping, so I don't know how it performs under those conditions. I just know the brakes work. The ride was mostly highway with mild curves and a few low speed, like sweeping turns onto exits or on ramps, you might want to call them. The whole experience with the motorcycle was pretty awesome. The only minor issues I had was a long coach travel that I mentioned before. Maybe because my bikes aren't set up that way, but I'm pretty sure you'd get used to that. And rev matching while gearing down was a bit funky too. It's, I guess, a combination of the far clutch travel and the boxer engine doing its little dance when you rev it, which, both can be chalked up to this motorcycle's character. I also don't like the whole fairing thing. Wind protection is nice, but I still got some wind coming up the side of the fairing, and I personally prefer a small windshield to help with some comfort, but nothing too tall that completely blocks wind or causes crazy buffeting or just ruins the view, because I like that. So if you're in the market for a heavyweight classically styled touring motorcycle and you got the coin to pay for it from a premium manufacturer, and you have an open mind and not just looking to run into the Harley Davidson dealership or the Indian dealership, then you might want to give this a try. Like me personally, if I were to go the bagger route and money wasn't an option, I would probably spring for a K1600B. I think that suits my style and I just like them. Maybe if the Beamer demo truck rolls around, I'll try and get a ride off for one of those. So if you got your license, you should probably go hit up a dealer, a BMW dealer near to you. See if you can get your hands on a R18, get a demo ride. There's good deals on them too. I think BMW is trying to move them. So yeah, give that a try. Thanks for watching. Until next time, peace.